Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and I'm in grade 11 at Notre Dame Secondary School, and today I'm going to be one of your hosts for this really exciting event.
Hi, I'm Anjali and I am in grade 11, just like Jenny, and I also go to Notre Dame. I'm going to be your host for the next hour, and welcome to our third session of National Youth Week, where we're going to be talking about minding your health and where all of you have the wonderful opportunity to listen to the session on beautiful and sunny Friday. And as we've mentioned previously, today's session is about minding your mental health, and we'll be talking to some great youth leaders and what it means to them.
Also, other hashtag National Youth Week activities from the city of Brampton and the city of Mississauga. Sean will now put up some featured youth volunteer opportunities. This is on the VMBC provider, which has thousands. If you're interested, just to note that there aren't many mental health volunteer opportunities, but we do have a lot of mental health member organizations, such as CMHA and certified listeners. Before we introduce our guest for today, we wanted to give you guys a quick introduction about what exactly Volunteer MBC is. VMBC stands for Mississauga, Caledon, and Brampton. It's composed of over 200 nonprofit organizations in Peel, and the purpose of this organization is to improve lives through volunteerism and connect people to the causes that need them.
And also, if you're interested, Sean will now put some websites which will provide mental health resources. And one of those resources is called CAMH, which stands for Center of Addiction for Mental Health. And I actually checked out one of these articles on the site, and it was talking about suicide rates among students in Ontario. And it really made me think about how it is that the pandemic has affected students' mental health on such a large scale. I know for me personally, staring at a large screen all day has really had a negative effect on my well-being.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even the fact that there's like no source of engagement with my teachers and my peers, it really does suck. I'm sure that a lot of the students who are watching can agree with me on this. But yeah, check out the articles on CAMH because they're truly engaging and educational. And I'm sure that you'll learn something new. The next resource is the Portico Network, also powered by CAMH. This website offers resources for mental health for those who need it. It offers clinical tools and evidence-based material for healthcare providers and social service workers. But even if you aren't like involved in the healthcare field and you simply want to learn more, the site is perfect for educational purposes.
The last but definitely not least resource is positiveintelligence.com. This actually is a very interesting resource because it offers this self-assessment that you can take to figure out how you specifically self-sabotage yourself in your own mind. So there are a number of ways one can self-sabotage their mental health depending on what exactly is. Whether you're a please or a hyperachiever, for example, this self-assessment describes the characteristics of each one and even the impact you have on yourself and others. I encourage you to check out this resource because it can be a great way to become more self-aware of the impact of your thoughts and your well-being. So don't hesitate to reach out or check out any of these resources because they're here to help you.
Yeah, now we're gonna get started with our guests. Our first guest is Aseba Rizvi, who is a qualifying art therapist. She's currently working on her thesis, where her goal is to bridge the gap between brain injuries and art therapy. As an artist, she's exhibited at multiple events, and she currently also sells paintings and has even started an online Etsy store trying to raise awareness between art and mental health. Hi. To start off, can you introduce yourself? Sorry, just start off, can you introduce yourself?
I can't hear anything. Can
I think we're getting a little bit of audio delay. Saba, can you just try speaking now? Okay. We'll just stand by and bring Saba back in a moment. Let's see if we can switch the audio here. 1 second. Okay. Perhaps you can continue, and we'll try to bring back Saba in a moment. Okay, we can see if we can go to Simone instead.
Okay, so our second guest is Simone Walsh, and she runs the mental health workshops. Simone volunteers for CMHA Speakers Bureau, and she is a multi-passionate entrepreneur, fashion designer, community activist. Simone is a strong mental health activist in our community, and she teaches individuals with illness how they can return to a sense of belonging, improve confidence, self-love, happiness, peace, normalcy. And I will now allow Simone to tell us a little bit more about herself. Feel free to introduce yourself and your experiences.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I am an advocate for mental health, as she mentioned, and I'm also the founder of Essence of Mind Outreach Program in support of mental health. And I'm also the author of Poetic Diary of a Bleeding Heart, which is my first book, which shares my testimony on recovering from a mental illness.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the Poetic Diary of a Bleeding Heart, if you don't mind?
Sure. Poetic Diary for Bleeding Heart is a book, basically a collection of poetry, journal entries, self-help activities, basically to help individuals who are also going through a mental illness. What worked for me to recover, I shared those tips with them. So it's basically a testimony of what can happen if you put in the work and determination to escape the system, basically, and the darkness, and get to the brighter side. So I wrote the book to inspire and encourage others. It's currently sitting at a 4.5 stars on Amazon. So far, the feedback has been really good. Yeah.
Do you plan on writing any other? Do you plan on writing any other books similar to the Poetic Diary of a Bleeding Heart?
Yes. I'm actually working on a second book right now. It's more of a novel. it's not really a follow-up to Poetic Diary. Poetic Diary was more of a personal story, almost like a memoir. But my second book will be more of a novel, a fictional story. So yeah, I do plan on writing more.
Would you be comfortable with telling us more about your experiences with dealing mental health?
Sure. My experience with it was there was a lot of stigma associated with it at the time. Um, Not a lot of people talked about it. And once I was diagnosed, I myself was afraid. I was thinking my doctor was wrong. My doctor doesn't know what he's talking about. So I didn't tell my family at first. So I lived in fear of being judged. And so I just kept it quiet for quite some time. But the more I tried to hide it, the worse I got, and I spiraled out of control to the point where I needed to get professional help. So it got to the point where I could no longer not talk about it. I had to open up to my family and say, "Hey, this is what I have. This is what I'm going through." So the experience with it was different, but I found out that it made me stronger, and I was able to get the help and support that I ultimately needed. But it starts with you. You have to say, "Hey, this is not how my story is going to end. I can get better. I can get past this." So I strongly encourage people to break the stigma and start to have a conversation and talk about it, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree with you about the fact that I feel like we don't like discussing our mental health problems with the fear of showing vulnerability. So yeah, that awareness towards mental health is really important. And like because we shy away from talking about this, it's really difficult and hard to understand other people are going through the same thing. But yeah, um, were there any challenges you faced with going back to like going back to the poetic diary of Bleeding Heart? Were there any challenges you faced with writing the book?
Yeah, there were some challenges. Because it's a true story, there was a few questions like how much do you want to divulge? How much do you want to share with your readers? How much do you want to say? Maybe you shouldn't say that. Maybe you should. So a lot of going back and forth with what was to be said. Especially because my family was in the book. They were like, I don't think you should say that about us. Maybe take that out and stuff like that. So I had a bit of a challenge with that. Also with getting a publisher, because it's such a heavy topic, not a lot of publishers wanted to publish a book on mental health. So I approached 15 publishers, and out of the 15, only one said yes. Sometimes you only need that one. But having her decide to help publish the book was because she connected to my story, and she had someone in her family who was going through it. And she said, there's not a book on the market that really speaks about mental illness, somebody who's been through it and what they're going through now. So those were some of the challenges, was getting the right fit with the publisher and deciding what content to really share with my readers. But ultimately I made the right decision, and it's doing pretty good right now. So yeah.
Oh, that sounds really great, like how you've like succeeded and like with all your experiences now. So how is like your experience with mental health like helped you grow as a person?
And it's helped me grow a lot. I've had to educate myself on the different types of mental illnesses and the medication. I find sometimes if you don't do that, your doctor can prescribe anything. Sometimes when they give you medication, you don't just have to fill them and take it. I will look at it and say, oh, I know what this does, and know the side effects, or you can reject medication. So it's helped me to educate myself and have a better conversation with my family doctor about medication and remedies, outlets, support systems that are out there. And it's ultimately made me a motivational speaker. As I never used to be someone who go out there and talk at schools or in workplaces, but Ever since I started to become an advocate, I've been speaking in workplaces, I've been speaking at schools, churches, individuals who would have me come and share my stories. So going through that battle with mental illness caused me to be broken, but I feel you had to be broken to get to something beautiful. And going through that path brought me to where I am today. So I'm grateful for it. And I share my story to inspire others in hopes that they will see that, hey, I'm not alone. If she went through it and she can get through it, so can I, you know? And so it's taught me a lot, and I hope to help others to.
Fully agree with the educational aspect that you're talking about, like how you tried to educate yourself and stuff when you were dealing with these, with mental health issues. Um, for me personally, I attended this discussion like table thing a couple of months ago, and the topic of discussion is mental health, and we basically had these resources, so books, videos, movies to watch and read, and I think being part of that discussion table really helped me educate myself about mental health issues. So yeah, that was a really great experience.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, what's Do you have any opinions on bringing up about conversations regarding mental health? Because I feel like that's also a really important aspect of educating yourself and others around you.
How to bring up the conversation?
Yeah.
How to bring up the conversation? I think now more than ever, people are starting to talk about it. You know, this pandemic has brought on so many different anxieties, depression, different types of mental illness disorders. So people are talking about it more. I think the first step is to just let someone know that, hey, if you need to talk, I'm available. You can send me a text message. Or even at the dinner table, I think you should normalize the conversation and just talk about it while you're having dinner with your family. That was how I first broke my news, was at the dinner table. But I think you just have to normalize it. I find people can talk about a broken wrist or a broken leg or diabetes or heart condition so easy. And so I think if we can talk about those things, we should be able to talk about mental illness just the same. So my first advice would be to normalize the conversation, even if it's, hey, how are you doing today? That question, it's so simple, but you never know what people might say. Sometimes their response is like, I'm fine, I'm fine. That's just an easy response. But just getting that person to open up to you and just starting a conversation. And if they're not ready to talk, just let them know that you're available. But it starts with you being available, giving that invitation to let them reach out to you, to start to talk. A few of my friends did that, and I rejected the invitation. I never reached out to them, never text them, because I just felt they wouldn't understand, you know. But once I tried it, they just listened, and sometimes you just need a listening ear. So I strongly encourage you to start talking, you know, normalize the conversation. Mhm.
Yeah,
So you
it's
mentioned,
crazy how. Sorry.
you can go.
Go ahead.
Okay,
It's
so
crazy. Oh,
what? You
it's crazy how. I was gonna say that it's crazy how people don't treat physical health and mental health the same.
Same.
But yeah, Angela, you could go.
Okay, so you mentioned that like people just start talking about mental health like right now, and I'd be going online and like every other person would have like this mental health post. So how, like in what ways can we empower youth through like social media? And like especially because like the pandemic and like yeah.
Yeah, social media is a powerful force. It's good and it's bad. encourage people to limit their social media intake as well as their news and television intake. But social media is a platform that you can use to bring awareness to mental illness. I use it basically on my social media to post positive affirmations or upliftments to others, to help them get through their days. So I strongly encourage others to use it for positive outlets, maybe just to uplift others, let them know what resources are available, direct them in the right place. And those have started conversation. A lot of people have commented and say, hey, thanks for sharing this. Hey, I didn't know about that. Or inbox me personally for more information. But I find a lot of young people on social media, they have posted things where it's almost like a cry for help. My cousin recently posted something on social media where it caused me to call. I had to like stop what I was doing and call them and say, hey, I just saw your post. Is everything okay? You know, and sometimes a post on social media can be a cry for help. You just never know what the message is. But they were hurting when I called and they're like, you saw my post? I was like, yeah, what does that mean? Are you all right? Do you want me to come and pick you up? Do you want to talk? And they did. So sometimes social media can be used as a cry for help. You just have to look for those messages. And because I used to be in that place where he is now, I picked up on that and knew something doesn't look right. You know, his mom didn't know, she didn't understand the message, but I did. So social media can be used for positive, and sometimes you just have to read between the lines as to what people are saying. But personally, I've been using it for upliftment and positivity and just try to direct people in the right direction for those that need help. Yeah.
On the other side of the spectrum, I feel like, or a lot, other people feel as though, um, some people, other people feel as though, um, people may post on social media regarding their mental health as like for
Attention.
for the yeah, for attention. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I used to get that when I first was going on my journey. A lot of people would inbox me and say, okay, you're just looking for attention, or what's wrong with you? Why do you post stuff like that? But that's where the education comes in. If you don't understand someone or what they're going through, you'll say quite a few things. So you have to try and understand the individual and try to be there for them. So I don't think it's an attention seeking. I think it's, as I mentioned, just trying to bring awareness, and almost like that's the way how you deal with what you're going through. I found posting things allowed me to release what was going on inside of me. It was like an outlet. um, so I don't look at it as a cry for help. I really, or um, someone being attention seeking. I just look at it like, I'm going through this, this is how I'm going to release it, and others perceive it how they will. But if you don't understand what that person is going through, you're going to take it all different sorts of ways. So it helps for us to educate ourselves, know the individual, and just reach out regardless of what they've posted. Even a comment below with a heart or a hug, those go a long way. Those say a lot to the individual. So yeah, you just have to take those posts and handle them with care, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Educating yourself is like it's like really important, especially right now because like mental health is like such a like big issue, and
Yeah.
I think like everyone needs like some sort of like education on mental health, and
Yes.
like a lot of schools like I think they were doing like a really good job on like spreading the issue and get like raising awareness.
Hmm.
So anyways, you've been featured on outlets such as Rogers Television, Snap Magazine, and the Brampton Guardian newspaper. So I have to ask, what was it like being featured on media?
My first feature on the media was a little bit scary because I was like, this is going to be viewed by a lot of people. A lot of people will see this. You know, with social media, it's limited. It's maybe who you have as a friend, your circle. But with the media, it was more people. I was a little bit scared, but after I did the interviews on TV and featured in the newspaper, quite a few family members read my story and saw me on TV, and they called, and they uplifted me. They're like, hey, I saw you today. You did a great job. That was a good story. Thanks for sharing that. So no one said anything negative. So it made me feel better afterwards to hear their views and their remarks. But at first, my anxiety was high because I thought of who would see it. And even my workplace, they don't really know. They didn't know at the time what I was going through. And I was like, my boss is going to see this. Oh my gosh. And I started to think maybe, it could lead to dismissal. I had all these thoughts, but um, it actually didn't go that way at all. People perceived it differently, and they commended me for being brave to open up to the media to share my story. So it opened the doors for others because I started to do those interviews more because of my first experience being on in the media.
Yeah. Okay, so like, um, yeah, like I guess like the first like impression on media, like it's really hard at first. Like even for me, like when I first started like using social media, I think it was like quite a challenge. And like I'm not really an influencer like you, but like it's different at first. Moving on, can you tell us a little bit more about your program, a sense of mind?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. So my charity, Essence of Mind, is an outreach program in support of mental health. We help families as well as individuals get the essential support that they need. So I basically founded this charity after going through my own struggles with mental illness and not being able to get help to see a psychologist. I was on a waiting list for like 6 months, and I was like, by the time I see the psychologist, I'm going to be worse off than I am now. And so I thought of others, and I thought people have to wait 6 months to see a doctor. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So I started Essence of Mind to try and fill some of those gaps and change how the mental health care was being operated. So we offer a program called Free to Talk, which is a telephone service you can call and speak to a therapist, no charge, no judgment, no health card. And they basically listen to you, offer any advice that they can. And if they can't help, they direct you to the resources in the community. We also have a dance class, which is called Healing Rhythms, which is going to be picking up in June. We're hoping we can do it in person based on this lockdown. We're not sure, but it will start off as virtual. But it's a dance class to help move your body, and just being active helps to change your overall mood and uplift you and just make you be in a better, positive space. We also do a program called Feed the Need, which is a program where we deliver non perishable food items to families who were affected by the pandemic. A lot of families lost their jobs and they weren't able to survive. So we were told of who we needed to reach out to, and we visited them and gave them food baskets as well. We're primarily known for our signature event, which is a fundraising gala called Stimulus. And it's basically a dinner, it's a dance, it's a fashion show, live entertainment. It's like a fun event where you dress really nice, you come out and you mix and mingle with so many people. But due to the pandemic, we haven't had that in a while. We're hoping we can bring it up next year, hopefully. But those are some of the programs that we do. We basically do seminars in the community. We also have a show on Instagram called Isolated But Not Alone, which we speak to essential workers in the community just to find out how are they coping with this pandemic. How are they getting by, and if they want to share any coping strategies or skills with our viewers. But it just helps them feel good to know that they're not alone, that others are going through it with them as well. So those are a few little things that we have been doing. Our long-term goal is to get into housing. We really want to help individuals get into housing. We have a few people that's come to us looking for a place to live or looking to move from where they currently are. So we really want to branch off into that and help those individuals. So that's Essence of Mind in a nutshell, basically what we do.
Um, I don't believe you mentioned this, but is there any way that people can like volunteer for Essence of Mind or participate in the
Yeah,
program?
definitely. We are looking for volunteers. We have a program where we're recruiting for student volunteers. We've sent it to quite a few schools. Students can volunteer with us in several departments that we have, and we basically give them hours. We write letters. If you need that to show that you do volunteer in the community, we do that as well. And we're actively seeking committee and board members. So we're always recruiting individuals to be a part of our team, passionate individuals involved or who love mental health, who love helping others. We really want to hear from them and just have them be a part of our movement. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like really interesting. Like maybe that's kind of something I'm interested in volunteering as
Nice.
well. So I might look at this
All
afterwards.
right.
So it was great hearing from you and everything you've told us about your experiences, and we learned a lot about you. So I think that's it for now, and we're going to be moving on to our next guest speaker. So thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Guys.
Hi, Saba. Um, so our second guest is Saba, who is who is a qualifying art therapist. She's currently working on her thesis, and she's also an artist. She currently sells paintings and other artwork, and has even started an online Etsy store trying to raise awareness between art and mental health. Um, so can you start off by introducing yourself and your art therapy?
Sure. Can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay, good. So I have actually creating artwork since I was a little kid, and then my dream was to become a psychiatrist. I did go a therapy career started. It was just a way for me to express myself through my art. I could connect and communicate with the people around me as to what I was going through, what the change was. As an art therapist or a qualifying art therapist, I have worked with individuals aged 3 to 102. So I've worked with people, older adults, with women in shelters, fleeing from domestic abuse, from physical abuse, poverty. I've worked with kids who have autism, who have learning disabilities, and then other individuals, injuries, and so on and so forth.
So, like, as you said, you're really interested in art, like, as a little kid. So, was there, like, a specific reason that you wanted to do art therapy? And if so, how did it start?
So I actually was in medical school when I had a car accident. Then I had to drop out of med school because I had difficulty reading and writing. Um, Moving around and just daily functioning was very difficult. So I basically had to relearn all that. And I had to go to the doctors for a diagnosis. So I kept saying, this is what is wrong with me. Can you please look into it? And because I look very normal, so that word normal is very detrimental. Because I look very normal, that there was migraines or just different physical or different mental health issues that I was experiencing. And sharing that on social media was what helped me learn about art therapy and was what helped me get into my art therapy program.
Is there any way that people can get involved with art therapy like you did, or get involved with your specific organization?
Um, to become an art therapist, you would have to have a background in psychology or fine arts, an undergrad in either of those, and you'd have to be an artist. You can apply at the Toronto Art Therapy Institute in Ontario, and then there are different organizations that you can volunteer with an art therapist. So that's currently the only way to go about that. There are archives, and there are a variety of individuals that you can speak to in support groups if you're looking to volunteer. We're still trying to raise awareness about art therapy, so it's been around for a long time, but not a lot of people know about it. I'm personally trying to start my own art therapy clinic, so hopefully that once things get more the ball gets rolling in terms of being outside and being able to engage in physical activities, I guess more people will be able to volunteer as well.
That sounds really cool. So like I guess like art therapy and like mental health is kind of like related in like some way. So why is mental health and awareness important to you?
Basically, when I was diagnosed with a brain injury, and I've got nerve damage as well. So when I had this diagnosis, I knew what was going on inside of me, and I was trying to convince my lawyers or my insurance company or the doctors that, I can't read or I can't see properly, right? But again, because I look normal, everyone would say, you look fine, there's nothing wrong, right? So a lot of people who have mental health difficulties, I don't like to use the word illness, but mental health difficulties, they don't get the recognition that they deserve because they look normal. So there's not a lot of therapy out there for people with mental health issues or difficulties, and they don't get a lot of referrals to psychiatrists or psychotherapists because it's not considered the norm yet, even though there are so many individuals. So a lot of people have difficulty in getting that recognition, even from their family or even from their medical personnel. So if there's awareness about this on social media and different platforms, if individuals are suffering, they need the community. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your past about and like why you joined art therapy. It was really interesting. So we'll bring back Simone for the joint discussion right now. Oh,
Thank you for having me.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Saba, for sharing your experiences and thoughts about mental health and all of your experiences. I'm sure the audience learned as much as we did, and it will be great to have another session like this again. Thank you also to everyone who took time out of their day to listen to the session. We appreciate it a lot.
Thank you so much.
Okay, also, to whoever is watching this session, if you're interested in volunteering, please check out www.volunteernpc.org and also make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for more updates for upcoming events, like our special event, the 2021 Virtual V Oscars, Volunteer Recognition Awards by Volunteer NBC. You can also get your free ticket at voscars.volunteernbc.org. And we would also like to thank you. We'd also like to say thanks to the Ontario Trillium Foundation for supporting the work of Volunteer NBC to promote volunteerism to youth in our community. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. I think you're muted.
Thank you. I'm saying it says live, but we're not actually live anymore. It was just that's just the recording bit. So
Sorry, I don't know what happened.